Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Hear Their Voices, HTV. This is an Icon podcast. And for those of you who do not know, Icon is the International Committee on Nigeria, and we promote human dignity, the right to live, religious freedom, and the protection of the vulnerable against all forms of persecution in Nigeria. My name is Priscilla Ozodo Acevedo, and it's such a joy to be here again with you. I'm excited today, y'all. It's in this new season of HTV. We are exploring and trying to challenge people and talk to people who are using their voice to speak up for Nigeria. We want to challenge you to speak up for Nigeria. Y'all, if you've been watching this, you've heard me say that in this episode, we really want to create a community. We really want to hear your voice speaking up for Nigeria. We want to hear the voices of people in our community and around the world that are speaking up for Nigeria. So I'm excited to jump into this episode. I can't wait to introduce you to our guests. First of all, we've done this every week. Pick up your phone. If you're watching this, you're one of a few people that actually have access to what we're doing. So pick up your phone. If you're watching this on Facebook, go to Facebook. It says Icon is now live. Click on that, and you want to click share, okay? Click share and share it on your page. You have people on your page that are watching you right now. You just say right post, watch now. And post that. And we want to get more people involved in what we're doing. We want to get the word out. Our focus this season is to speak up for Nigeria, y'all. There are hundreds and thousands and millions and trillions of people, I think, that do not know what's going on in Nigeria. There's a genocide, there's persecution going on, and we want to get the word out. I also learned something new today. For those of you who are following us on YouTube, I've been struggling to find the videos. And I learned that if I go and find Icon Help on YouTube, I can go to videos and click on it, and I will find it. Right now, we are already live, so that's another thing you can share. I share it on my status on WhatsApp, and get your friends to follow and watch. Another way to get the word out. So again, welcome. Today I'll be talking with our special guest on the role of the church and religious institution in the fight against persecution and terrorism in Nigeria. And I'm excited about our guest today. He's been in the trenches, he's experienced persecution himself, and today we get to share with him. But before that, here are the announcements. Okay. Some of our announcements today, first of all, February 18th, say that date loud and clear. February 18th will mark the 3rd year since Leah Sharibu was abducted by Boko Haram terrorists. Leah has been away from her family at every holiday, every birthday, every special occasion. She's been separated from her family. It will be 3 years. So we're asking you to join Icon as we join the Leah Foundation for 7 days of prayer leading up to February 19th. Now, we will start on February 13th and pray every day until February 19th. So join us. We're going to, before we continue the news, take a moment of pause to watch a video that reflects Leah's story. And I want you to not just watch and be like, okay, they're showing another video about Leah, because we do talk about Leah because she is important and she represents several women and children that have been separated from their families. But I want you to take a moment as we watch this video to say a little prayer for Leah and her family. AJ. If you have already not been doing so, we want to invite you to join us to pray for Leah, pray for her family who can't even be in public. They have to be in an undisclosed location. This is a hard time for several families. So let's take a moment this week in case you didn't have other things to pray for, and even if you did, add this prayer point to your list and pray for Leah and her family. Join the Leah Foundation, join I Can Help, and let's make a difference. Okay? Thank you very much. In other news, ICON mourns the call to glory of Professor Adeniyi Ojituku. He played a great role in the work we did as ICON as a family, and he will be deeply missed. We mourn with his family, and we say a prayer for their peace and their comfort and for healing for their hearts. This has been a hard season for many families losing loved ones, and we pray that the Lord will comfort them and give them peace. Thank you for joining our announcements. We will go on to the news of the week. One of my favorite parts. The news of the week is one of the favorite things for me, because I get to share with you some of the news that I've gotten to study this week, and it affects me in a specific way. But before I start reading this whole thing, I just want to challenge y'all to go to our Facebook page, follow us, and read the entire stories. I get to read to you summaries and snippets, and yes, that's something. But follow us on Facebook and get the entire articles and read the entire stories. These are important news articles. Okay, for the first news of the week, some of you know that last week we discussed about COVID and the effects of COVID in specific areas, especially areas that are ravaged by persecution and terrorism. And Nigeria has announced that in the struggle against the COVID pandemic, this past weekend, Nigerian officials set forth a goal to vaccinate 40% of the population against COVID this year. Experts have shared their concern about the lack of adequate storage facilities to store the vaccines and proper protection of the COVID vaccines. And I just want to pause. I don't know about you, but that's not my biggest concern. You know, yes, the vaccines need to be stored, but as soon as I saw this news, I was like, who gets the vaccines? Are those who are the most vulnerable and those who are the poorest people have access to these vaccines? Will these vaccines be distributed amongst the richest of the rich? How will these communities that barely even know about COVID, that are living in poverty and living in IDP camps, families that have been displaced, what access will they have to this COVID vaccines? That's the question I'm asking. I don't know about you. Follow us on Instagram as we bring up some of these conversations this week to say, who is going to have access? Can we influence, can our voice influence those who will have access to these vaccines? Just saying, you know, y'all know I will speak the truth right here. You will hear from me the way I'm thinking it. I'm excited that Nigeria is not outside of those countries that are being that are receiving the COVID vaccine, but I'm like, so who's gonna get it now? You know? Okay, in other news, OpinionNigeria.com highlighted that the severity of the kidnapping pandemic that has become one of the greatest threats plaguing Nigeria today. The writer of this blog blames the problem on social issues such as illiteracy and poverty. However, the article clearly declares that the complacency of the government regarding this type of terrorism has allowed kidnappings in Nigeria to thrive and increase. According to this opinion article, the solution is better education and more jobs. I read that and I was like, that's it? Better education and more jobs? Like, seriously? I honestly believe, yes, better education, literacy will help, and creating jobs for a lot of the youths that are displaced, that are forced to go into criminal activity, that will help. However, I believe, and she mentioned it in this article, that the government is not holding the people accountable People are not being held accountable to their actions. There's a lot of these kidnappers, a lot of these terrorists that have been caught, and there's talk about releasing them back into society. My concern is that Nigeria is not taking a strong enough stance. And by Nigeria, I personally, this is my personal opinion because it's an opinion piece. I personally feel like Nigeria is not taking this seriously enough, and the repercussions for those who are being caught is not strong enough. My personal opinion. What do you think? Follow us Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. Stand with Nigeria on Instagram, and we will send some polls this week to say, what are your thoughts? Will education and more jobs solve the kidnapping issue in Nigeria? What do you think? I'm particularly interested to hear from older people who know Nigeria before, when education was great and when there were jobs everywhere. Will that solve the problem? That's a huge question. Now on some good news. I love when I get to share some good news with y'all. So let's look at some good news. Members of the House of Lords in the UK have recently asked their country to take action against Nigeria, holding the government responsible for failing in its obligation to call to justice. They're holding Nigerian government responsible for failing its obligation to call to justice those who are responsible for the killings and terrorist activities in Nigeria. Pause. Yes, that is what we want. They need to call to justice those who are responsible for these killings. They're negotiating with them. A lot of people that have been kidnapped and released is because the government have been negotiating with these terrorists. Can we bring them to justice? Thank you for these members of the House of Lords. They wrote a letter in the UK they wrote a letter to UK's foreign minister, and in the letter, the exciting thing is they quoted from Icon's book Silent Slaughter Nigeria. Silent Slaughter Nigeria is free on the Icon website. Pause. Okay. Y'all, I don't know if you realize it, but there's a book that Icon has written with all details, and I love that there's statistics and there's information that you can use to train your church, to educate people about what's going on in Nigeria. You can find it. It's free for download on the Icon website. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment right now. You can leave a comment right now, or you can, if you're watching this later, send us a message. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Say, I'd like to get a copy of that book. How can I find it? It's called Silent Slaughter Nigeria, and it's on the Icon website. We are grateful that the work that Icon has done to provide information about the genocide going on in Nigeria is allowing other nations to become aware and take action steps towards the ending of several decades of silent slaughter. I don't know about you, but I was very encouraged and super pumped about this, because it shows that the work that Icon is doing is making a difference, and we cannot do that work without you. So here we go again. Learn more about the work we're doing. Follow us at iconhelp.org. It's very, very easy. iconhelp.org. On Instagram, we're trying to get our social media all unified, y'all. But for now, on Instagram, we are Stand With Nigeria. And on Facebook, Icon Help. On YouTube, Icon Help. On Twitter, Icon Help. This is pretty easy. It's all about Icon and Help. Follow us. Share this story. Share this particular broadcast. Share last week's broadcast. Go back. We have, you can even listen to us on your podcast. Every place that you receive your podcasts, on iTunes and all those places where you find podcasts, we're there too. I'll get you all the details next week. I didn't prepare that. So it's such a joy to be back, and I'm excited to welcome you to this time. I want to introduce our guest. Our guest, I think what's most exciting for me with our guest is I grew up in the same city as where he did a lot of his work. And he's going to be we're focusing today on the topic of the role of the church in persecution. Now, I just want to say, I know many of us that watch this show, that follow Icon Help and follow our work, may not be particularly Christian, But the genocide and the persecution going on in Nigeria, a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it has been targeted towards Christians. And in the Christian church, we call that persecution. And so we want to see how is the Christian church responding to that. So even if you may not be a Christian, this is just to learn what Christians are thinking about this genocide and these killings that are happening. Also, we will have tips and information on how you can respond to persecution, to whether or not you go to church or you're part of what we call the church. So don't just tune out and say, oh, it's the rule of the church, persecute. I don't go to church, so I'm not going to listen to today. No, this is a time to lean in, to tune in and hear stories from people who have been experiencing persecution for decades now. Please, Icon, join me, friends, audience, join me to welcome our guest, Reverend Zakaria Chine. He is currently a graduate research and teaching assistant at Biola University. He has sat on several boards and held several leadership positions with the Ekwa Church in Nigeria. He also served as a lecturer. He served as a lecturer and chaplain at the Ekwa Theological Seminary in Jos, Nigeria. And we are honored to welcome you, sir, to the studio as we discuss the role of the church in facing persecution. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Priscilla. I am more than honored to be here with you and to also share my thoughts on the issues going on in Nigeria. Thank you.
We are so honored to hear from you. So I did this thing trying to prepare for today, and I went all over the internet, and I was like, this man is so humble because I know about the work you've done, but it's not blasted everywhere on the internet. And I was like, I need to get more information. So I'm wondering if you can start by just telling us about yourself and about some of the work you've done both in Nigeria and here in the US.
Well, you've already introduced me as Zakaria Chine. It hasn't changed. And I am a proud father of 3 boys. And part of my work and ministry over the years include pastoral ministry, teaching ministry, leadership. I don't know that I have done more than this. And I have also volunteered for over the past. I volunteered in the past with a ministry that reaches out to displaced people, people who are victims of religious persecution in Nigeria. So I did that for about 8 years before coming here.
Wow. Thank you so much for all your work, and we're grateful. We've heard about persecution and terrorism and all of this. And when you think of the word persecution, as you know, as a theologist, what do you call theologist? Words that live in my brain.
Okay.
How would you describe? Some people have never heard the word persecution. And we use that word a lot here at ICON because we believe that a lot of these killings are targeted to people because of their religious convictions. We see that in Leah's story and in several other stories too. So how will you define persecution? What does the Bible say about persecution?
I guess that these days people use words carelessly. And one of such words that I feel has been abused is the word persecution. Somebody puts out, sorry, forgive my language, a very stupid post on Facebook, and people respond to it, and he said he's been persecuted. When I demonstrate or when I exhibit an act of irresponsibility and people hold me accountable for it, I shouldn't say that I'm persecuted for that, because our actions will definitely have consequences. And so, or people say they're persecuted because their post didn't get as much likes on Facebook and share as they hoped. But persecution within the Christian faith and also generally refers to issues of attacks or harassment
Mhm.
to an individual that is intended to bring some form of either bodily harm or injury or to deprive somebody of rights and privileges. And so, down through the history of the Christian church, right from its earliest inception up to now, persecution is a hallmark of the Christian faith.
Hmm.
It's something that I will say, I mean, like people who work in certain establishments, you have what they call occupational hazard.
Hmm.
So persecution is our own form of occupational hazard.
Hmm.
By being Christian, of course, there are people who will differ with you on the basis of religious convictions or persuasions.
Hmm.
Some will be hostile towards you because of that difference,
Hmm.
and that can constitute persecution. Um, I think that also when we think about persecution, um, I'm just thinking if I can just bring something recently, and there's been conversations about here in the US about whether the restrictions to places of worship on account of COVID-19 constitutes persecution. Now, there are Christians here who feel that this is persecution. They've been persecuted for their faith. And we can make a case for that.
Hmm.
But I think that tends to pale out when compared to what real Christian persecution is. I
Hmm.
mean, or what real persecution of the Christian church has been down through
Hmm.
history. So I have my hesitation to call this particular one persecution as
Yeah.
compared to what people in northern Nigeria and other places are facing on account of their faith.
Yeah, I mean, Chinne, it's easy for people who've never experienced anything like what we may have experienced, to say this is persecution. But can you describe some of your personal encounters, your personal situations? I was listening to a sermon that you preached a while ago, and one of the things that you mentioned was the attack on Christians that happened in 2001, and I remember that vividly, being just myself. Well, you've watched that, and you've watched several decades of persecution in Nigeria. So can you describe some personal experiences you've had with persecution in Nigeria?
I mean, I can go back to as far back as 1991 when I did church planting in northern Nigeria, in the far north of Nigeria, where there is a heavy presence of Islam, and where I was denied even to rent a place. I was denied a place to rent, and for the whole duration of my stay, I had to be squatting with someone because the landlord heard overnight that I was what they called mission and
Hmm.
will not rent out the place for me, even when I was going to pay, I
Hmm.
mean, for the place. And I also remember how the church that I planted in that part of northern Nigeria, we will not even sing when we gather
Wow.
because we didn't want to attract attention to ourselves that
Wow.
there is a church meeting in this place.
Hmm.
I remember also how we will not even go to that church, which was somebody's house. We won't go at the same time because we didn't want to be suspected. And so we will go, some people will go like 30 minutes before it's time. We spread the time that we go to the place so that we didn't want to be noticed.
Hmm.
But that is how that church, I mean, how we started that church, and we ran the church for as long as I was there until I left. I mean, you will have to almost like conceal your identity
Hmm.
because other people who are not gracious and kind to your religious faith will do whatever they need to do to prevent you from meeting, to prevent you from having your church.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I also experienced is that even in those places, like where I did that church planting, we couldn't buy a piece of land to erect a church building because nobody will sell a piece of land for you to erect a church building.
Hmm.
So that is persecution on account of your faith.
Yeah.
But also, I have been stoned,
Wow.
not in Jos, in other places where we have traveled to do ministry. I have been stoned. I remember this other place we went to preach, and after being stoned and everything we did, we made like an altar call and say if anybody wants to accept Jesus as Lord and Savior, and nobody came, and they really laughed at us. I mean, it's almost like shame on you. Nobody has accepted your faith.
Hmm.
But there are instances. I mean, the 2001 is more general because so many people were affected.
Yeah.
Now, the only reason that I feel that, I mean, I was affected by that was because the church that I pastored, was like at the border of
Hmm.
this conflict. And I saw members of my church killed during
Hmm.
that instance.
Wow.
I mean, this is not something I heard, this is something that I saw happening. And
Hmm.
you just feel this helplessness. I remember how I had to move my family away from that place, just some few, I mean, less than 2 miles away from where we were, hoping that they could find safety.
Hmm.
And while we stayed overnight and throughout the day, just hoping, trusting that nothing happens.
Hmm.
So at a personal level, I can say that I have experienced that.
Hmm.
But again, when I try to compare with other people in Nigeria, especially in northern Nigeria,
Hmm.
where this is their daily experiences,
Yeah.
I feel like mine completely pales, mine completely disappears. I just feel like I've not even experienced persecution.
Yeah. I feel that kind of way too because I was there in 2001, and yes, we were stranded in our homes. We didn't run, but our home was not burned down. But we've seen this kind of persecution happen decade after decade, and then now more in the rural areas where whole communities are wiped out and
Mhm.
whole families are lost. And our heart breaks because while a lot of this persecution happens to non-Christians as well, it's this it looks like there's a target on the back of Christians. And you said it's kind of like a job hazard, right? Hazard on the
Mhm.
job by being Christians.
Mhm.
So would you say then we should just accept it? Just accept it and praise the Lord. We're being persecuted. Because a lot of us have had this kind of struggle. What is our role? What can we do? Should we just accept, okay, persecution is happening, we're being killed and slaughtered, and hundreds of thousands, and people are worried for their lives? But what is the role of individual Christians and of people in general? Should we just say that's what they signed up for, so why not?
I think it's one for me. People need to define exactly what is going on first.
Hmm.
In Nigeria, you have a mixture of so many things going on.
Hmm.
There is criminality, whereby the perpetrators don't care what your religious faith is. So, in that case, you find that traditional religionists are killed, Muslims are killed, Christians are killed by the same group, those bandits and those criminals all over the place. That is one aspect.
Hmm.
On that, I feel that Christians have a role, have a voice, and our voice is that of advocacy on behalf of those people who are victims of all of those forms of attacks.
Hmm.
What do we do about Christians who are persecuted? Well, I think that there is a need to create awareness, like you are doing at ICON, create awareness beyond just Nigeria, beyond just, I mean, whatever platform we have, we want to create an awareness
Hmm.
that, hey, your fellow brothers and sisters in Nigeria are undergoing this form of persecution, or they're being persecuted in,
Yeah.
I mean, so many ways. Now, um, when we create the awareness, what are we hoping will happen? Are we also doing this in the hope that there's going to be pressure to stop the persecution of Christians.
Mm.
Well, I wish that that is what happens. Um, but again, I ask myself, what does it mean to be a Christian? Am I thinking that being a Christian shields me or is supposed to shield me from these persecutions?
No.
No. I mean, when Jesus said that if anybody should come after him, he must deny his cross daily. I mean, he's denying himself daily, take up his cross and follow him. This is exactly what it means. We
Mm.
are carrying the cross. We are carrying the burdens. We will be persecuted. I mean, it's not the issue of if we are persecuted. It is when.
Mm.
Now, for some people, they don't get persecuted the way others are persecuted. But I don't think that our calling as a church is to run away from it.
Mm.
I mean, it's like someone who has enlisted into the army. The soldier is aware that by virtue of enlisting in the army, that he is going to war.
Mm.
In this war, he may come back alive or he may get killed. Now, that there is a variant of the Christian faith that makes us want to run away from the reality of persecution,
Mm.
that wants us to deny, uh, wants us to deny anything to do with persecution in the sense that we are told that if you are a child of God, you will not suffer, you
Mm.
will not be persecuted, you will only, it's just prosperity and
Yeah.
health. It's not
Yeah.
true. So there is persecution of the church in Nigeria. I think this is one reality we need to establish, that yes, there is persecution. And how do I know? I know because there are communities in Nigeria whereby even social amenities that the people are supposed to enjoy, the same people who are paying taxes for those amenities don't get to enjoy them because they are a religious minority.
Mm.
And because they are a religious minority, something like a borehole, ordinary drinking water, they can't have it within their own community.
Mm.
And even if they have, I know one community like that. I just won't be mentioning places
Yeah.
because I've been to a lot of those places when I volunteered with this organization.
Mm.
So if they have a borehole, they don't get to drink water from that place for free.
Mm.
Other people from other communities will come and fetch the water first. And when it's the turn of the Christian people in those communities, they will have to pay in order to have the water to drink.
Mm.
I know of other communities, Christian communities in the north of Nigeria, whereby they are deemed unfit to have a district head of themselves. So a non-Christian from another community will have to be made their own district head even when he lives away from the community.
Wow.
I know of instances where children will have to change their names so that they can gain admissions into schools.
Mm.
In fact, right from primary schools, that they are made to change their names to adopt other religious names other than Christian names
Mm.
so that they can go to school. And when they go to school, when they've already changed their names, they are told that they cannot revert to their former names again.
Mm.
So on issues like these, on issues of equal access to amenities, to resources, and to services that are supposed to be provided by government, yes, we must speak out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether the people who are affected are Christians or not. We must speak out and say, hey, this is not right.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that, because my next question was going to be, what is the role of the American church, or the average American that might be watching this and just randomly found us on on Facebook and is watching this and saying, "How can I help?" Because we're talking about this, the absence of human dignity, the restrictions against Christians, this lack of religious freedoms, regardless of who these people are. And so there's many people that hear what you're saying and they're like, "That's terrible, that's so bad." And you must have experienced it, but they feel powerless and just unable to make a difference. So what will you say, one, to the American church, but also to the average person that may not even be part of the American church, but just how can they make a difference in this particular scenario that is the persecution of Christians in Nigeria?
For the most part, the conversations that I've had with people in the US, their response has been, "What can we do?" And I guess that I process that kind of question differently, because it's not so much about money.
Yeah.
It's about platforms.
Yes.
You have a platform that we don't have. You have powers that we don't have. You have a voice that we don't have. Can you just lend us those platforms so that, I mean, we can make our voices heard?
Yes, sir.
We are not telling you to come to Nigeria and stop the persecution of Christians, because as Christians, we signed up for it. We know that we will be persecuted for our faith. We're simply saying, call on the people responsible, like the government, that they need to be responsible in ensuring that all Nigerians have access to, whether it's drinking water, whether it's health services, whether it's good roads, whether it's, I mean, whatever it is that
It's a
citizens
right
are.
to live. Really.
Yes, just, I mean, and for most Nigerians, all that we're asking for is that right to just live. And Nigerians don't ask for much. So the church in America needs to come to the, I mean, whether it's the church or the US as a whole, coming to the understanding that this is what is going on. One, that it's a mixture of criminality and religious persecution. And all of these must be addressed. Two is also, if we have that platform, could you let us speak? Now, don't take our voices from us. we need those voices, because
Yes,
we are coming from a place of experience. And in the past, I've had people here in the US try to categorize for me what is exactly happening in Nigeria. And I said, how can you do that? You don't have the experience. You've not lived under it. You've not been in a position whereby you'll be chased from your house and you'll stay somewhere overnight in the bushes, hoping that you get to see another day. Some of us have had those kinds of experiences. And if we ask you for a platform, all that we're saying is that, could you let us speak? And the tendency to judge the responses of the church in Nigeria abounds outside of Nigeria. Now, let me tell you that before these things started happening in Jos, when they were happening in Kaduna, I told my Kaduna Christian brothers, I said to them, I don't know what kind of Christians you are. I mean, how are you reacting in this manner? But when reality hit home, then I find that I was struggling between what I believed, which is the right thing I believe, and what my response was going to be in the midst of the situation.
Yeah.
So sometimes you are really not sure how you yourself will respond in a situation, and so mine is to say that there is a need for caution. There is a need for caution when we try to draw conclusions about the responses of other people outside of our experience.
Yeah.
But also there is a need for a partnership.
Yes.
That is built on mutual respect.
I
between
love
the
that
church
word.
in America and the church in Nigeria. Let's understand ourselves. And for that kind of partnership to take place, we must all uh, come to the discussion table, as I will say, with humility.
Hmm.
That from us in Nigeria, that we don't understand everything that is happening, and for the church in America, that they also don't understand everything that is happening.
Mhm.
And it's this kind of humility that will bring what I will see like um, what in elementary biology we're told is symbiotic association,
Yeah.
that we are mutually benefiting from the experiences of one another.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Reverend Chine. It's just such a blessing to have you here. I'm getting the warning sign from my producer, and I'm like, dang, I could keep talking for like another hour.
Yeah.
Such a blessing to have you. But before we let you go, I just wanted to say, what's your biggest hope and prayer for Nigeria today?
Wow. Because Nigeria remains home for me and for many other people, um, every day we dream of a better Nigeria.
Hmm.
Every day we pray for a better Nigeria. In one of the YouTube videos I'll be putting out in a few days to come, I listen to the drums of war all over the place in Nigeria, and I tell myself Nigerians don't know what they're asking for.
Hmm.
We cannot afford a war.
No, sorry.
Um, 200 million people at war. We can't afford it. That no matter how much it's going to cost for Nigeria to be at peace, it is still going to be cheaper than Nigeria going to war.
Hmm. Amen.
And so that's my prayer for Nigeria. My desire, and one of the reasons why I do the Which Way Nigeria YouTube channel is simply because I feel like, the Nigeria that I grew up in is totally different from the Nigeria that I've seen.
Hmm.
I went to school with Muslims. I went to St. John's College,
Yeah.
and there were Muslims in St. John's College. When it was time for the Ramadan fast, our school made special arrangement for them. And it was just a beautiful place, a beautiful thing. That was a Nigeria that I grew up in. My childhood friend growing up is a Muslim Fulani boy.
Hmm.
And I still speak to him today. We are still friends today. During Christmas, he'll bring tomatoes to me when I was in Jos. I mean, that is the Nigeria that I am longing for, I am craving for. And I know that is a Nigeria that is possible. But it is the hijack of religion by politicians that is one of the major problems we are having. And
Hmm.
so, we can't cover it today because that's another chapter. But that is my hope for Nigeria, that we will see a Nigeria whereby people can relate as human beings,
Hmm.
regardless of those ethnic differences, those
Yeah.
religious differences, those political differences. Not so much that those differences collapse, no, that they are there, but they don't define who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. So much, Reverend Chine, for taking your time to be with us and to give us a vision of the Nigeria that we can hope for. I just got goosebumps thinking of the Nigeria of back in the day where we could live together in peace. And we
Mhm.
pray that the militants and those inciting violence will be brought to justice.
Yeah.
Thank you. We deeply appreciate you. And we hope that you have a wonderful, wonderfully blessed week. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you so much.
We appreciate you. Ah, y'all know I can just go on and on and on. This is some good stuff. And for me personally, it's taking me back to my childhood, to a time where, most of this tensions, most of this killings were unheard of. And that's the prayer. I want to leave you with something and with a challenge. Reverend Chinne said, share your platform. Use your platform to let our voices be heard. He just spoke some powerful words. How can you, watching this right now, use your platform to let his voice be heard, to let these stories be heard? Share this link. Share this as a Facebook post. Go on YouTube and share it on other social network platforms. We want to get the word out there. Again, I will say this again and again. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Follow Dr. Chinne. We will send out links to his YouTube channel. If you really enjoyed what he had to say and you want to hear more, we will give you direct access to his YouTube channel so you can follow him. Let their voices be heard. This year, there was a lot of talk about getting other voices be heard, people who have the experiences. There was a campaign called Share the Mic Now, and I want to steal their words and challenge you. You have a platform, even if it's just 200 followers or 200 friends on Facebook. That is your platform. Share your mic now. Again, my name is Priscilla Acevedo, and it's been a privilege and a joy to share with you. I can't wait to be back with you next week as we tackle issues regarding persecution, genocide, and terrorist activity in Nigeria. This is HTV, the Icon Podcast. See you next week.